So, Gloria Allred, they're talking about, among other things, the impact of the LA charges now filed against Mr. Weinstein. Coincidental? I don't know about that. So, sitting near Gloria in the courtroom is our own Jesse Weber. He's been down there, and good on you there for getting in the courtroom, Jesse. I know that it's kind of a very exclusive ticket, so I appreciate your efforts in doing that. I have decided, since this is playing out sort of slowly, to be your official weatherman. And all I can say is you're not going to like Thursday. Let's leave it at that. So, Jesse, what's been going on?
I think I'm sick that day, Michael.
Are you sick? We'll see if Aaron can go down there. Let me know what's going on there. What have you been seeing in the courtroom?
Sure. We've seen a very interesting day. It started out with fireworks in the morning. I mean, this was something that I don't think anyone really expected. We thought it was going to be a normal kind of jury questionnaire, jury selection process, but there were some issues that needed to be dealt with the judge. First of all, I mean, the minute the judge walked into the court today, even before he got his robe on, he was yelling at the defense. As we talked about earlier, Harvey Weinstein was continuing to use his phone, and there's that, and he was continuing to use his phone and texting during the course of before the judge even came into the courtroom. That's a big no-no. I can't stress this enough, Michael. No one is allowed to use their phones in that courtroom. I actually saw one media person being asked to leave the courtroom when that happened. So Arthur Aidala, Donna Rotuno, they were all called out by the judge. It got heated. And in fact, Mr. Weinstein, who tried to defend himself at one point, the judge interrupted and said, "Mr. Weinstein, I encourage you to invoke your right to counsel and your right to remain silent. Don't say anything." Now, at one point, he even said to Harvey Weinstein, "I don't even want you to answer this question, but Mr. Weinstein, do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison, your rest of your life in jail for using your cell phone?" Think about that. Now, the day moved on with Arthur Aidala making a motion to ultimately try to have this case adjourned, ultimately delayed in light of the LA charges, saying, how can you get a fair and impartial jury when on the eve of jury selection, everybody now knows Mr. Weinstein was hit with all these LA charges. Ultimately, that was denied, and the judge said that you will question the jurors during the jury selection process, and that's what we saw right now. I just left the courtroom, and what we learned, there really wasn't much happening. I mean, I walked into the courtroom. It was only media personnel and court officials. What was happening was certain potential jury members were filling out questionnaires, that 16-page questionnaire, and then they were privately questioned by the attorneys in a separate room. We didn't see anything. Now, 36 of the 120 prospective jurors, they appeared to be called back on January 16th. That's when I believe the public questioning of these jurors will happen. We'll have a chance to see that, and I'll report it back to you. But it appears tomorrow, and possibly for the rest of the week, is going to be this private questioning, just jurors filling out this questionnaire. And that's what we're seeing. It's an important questionnaire because jury selection in this high-profile case is everything, Michael.
Yeah, and I've been looking at the questionnaire and some of the questions, and it looks like about 72 questions. Some are pretty pro forma, not a big deal. Some of them are too obvious to be a big deal, like can you be fair and impartial. But others maybe give you a little insight into these folks, at least to give you a jumping off point for those personal Q&A sessions. And those are going to be, what, 15 minutes per side? Is the judge involved in that? Just the attorneys? How is that playing out?
Yeah, what we learned today, and Arthur Aidala seemed to have an issue with this, is that it appears to be 15 minutes per side. Now, why is that a problem? Because he made the point earlier on, how can I properly question these potential jurors about their impact, what they know about this case, what they know about the LA charges in just 15 minutes? And the judge said, listen, I don't really think it's a big deal. Everybody can be charged with a crime. Anybody can get sued, but you are presumed innocent in this country, and that's something that every juror is going to have to know, whether it's the New York charges or the LA charges. And you say 15 minutes, Mr. Aidala, I say no, because they took the time to fill out that questionnaire. And taking that time to fill out that questionnaire, it tells you something about them right there. So yes, you have to question them for only 15 minutes, but you already know something about them in the questionnaire. Now, you and I, Michael, we all know that there's a difference between questioning a juror in person and having them fill out a piece of paper. So I thought Arthur Aidala made a very strong and passionate plea to get this case delayed, which didn't work, or at least to open up more time for questioning, which didn't work. So it wasn't a great day for the defense. Now, having said that, Michael, also the prosecution lost something today. They tried to have Harvey Weinstein locked up. They tried to have his bail conditions revoked in light of the LA indictment. That didn't happen. Bail conditions are set where they are. So it was an interesting day for both sides, but you got to think not a great day for the defense. They were beat up by the judge a lot.
Yeah, and if you look at the decisions, both prosecution and defense, the judge is really maintaining quite the rein on these guys. And I think, as to that 15 minutes, that's a lot of time. It really is a lot of time to get into somebody. I mean, that's 1/4 of a session you'd have with a shrink. Maybe even 1/3 if you look at a 50-minute hour that they normally provide. So I think that's plenty of time to find out as best you can whether or not a jury member is going to be in the box or not. So what do you expect to happen now tomorrow? Is it going to be a lot of the same kind of stuff?
I do. Michael, I do expect the same thing, unless, who knows, if something should happen in the next 12 hours that needs to be addressed by this court. That's maybe we'll see it addressed the first thing in the morning. Always, again, I didn't expect to see fireworks this morning, and that's what happened. So the same thing could happen tomorrow morning. Other than that, we just are probably going to see the same line of questioning. But again, we believe next week is really when the jurors will be officially questioned. And you made a great point, Michael. You made a great point. The thing about this case is, and the thing about any kind of cases, it's almost impossible to know what's going on in a jury member's head. Remember, one of the main concerns that we heard leading up to this case are people who are supporters of the Me Too movement and perhaps anti-Harvey Weinstein. Are they specifically trying to get onto this case in order to affect the verdict? That would be a nightmare scenario, I would say, for both sides. You want impartial jurors, but ultimately that's a danger. It's going to be very hard to find people who don't know anything about Harvey Weinstein or anything about this case, but can they remain impartial? That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of introducing legislation to use lie detectors in the jury selection process. Obviously not used for criminal purposes, but just to give us a break, give us a chance to really pick people who truly can be unbiased. I know you're going to ferret that out for us there, Jesse. I know that you're right there. You're going to see it happen, and you'll get a sense of whether the jurors picked by one side or the other, seem to come across as unbiased. So we'll be with you every step of the way. I appreciate your work down there, buddy.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Again, one of the jurors, they have to also figure out if they can stay on this case for 6 to 8 weeks. That's what time how long this trial will last. And some of the jurors who were ultimately excused, or prospective jurors, were college students, full-time students. They can't get off for that, and therefore they are excused. So the time commitment is a big aspect and a big key in this case as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And usually I don't tell people how to get out of jury service, but self-employed, prepaid vacations. I didn't tell you that. Okay, thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Michael.
You bet. Okay, so there is our man on the street there at the Harvey Weinstein trial, Jesse Weber. We're going to take a quick break. Of course, Harvey facing potential life in prison with those 5 counts against him here in the New York jurisdiction. We'll go back to the Ohio case here against the Groves for the death of their son when we come right back. This is Law and Crime.